Welcome to Men Pursuing More. I'm your host, Roger Maupin. I believe every man has the potential to push past his limits and strive for something greater. Whether you're a former athlete who is looking for what's next, a professional pushing through the daily grind, or someone simply ready to break through life's toughest challenges, if you're ready to step into the pursuit of something more, your pursuit begins now. Hey, welcome back to Men Pursuing More. I'm your host, Roger Maupin, and want to welcome Lee to the podcast. And our focus is on the month of September, and that is Recovery Month. And men who are attending the Adult and Teen Challenge, and we have a few episodes that will focus on the journey of a few men. So Lee, let's get right into it, and let's give you an opportunity to kind of share with the listeners your story.
Okay, my name's Lee Pinotti. I'm 50 years old. I'm from North Minneapolis. And my journey started just a couple years back as far as my sobriety and my walk in faith had started a couple years back. It was always there, but on August 21st, I was arrested. I came into Hennepin County Jail on first-degree sales charge and a possession of a firearm. This had been the end to the path of a long road of criminal activity and gang violence and drug dealing and in the streets for years. I probably from the time I was 19 and at the time I was arrested, it was 48. This wasn't a one-time incident. I had been arrested on federal bank robbery charges before. I did time in Chicago, Illinois, in Cook County for money laundering and firearm charges. So coming into this charge, it was pretty serious. I was told I was a career criminal, and there was absolutely no way that I was getting out of this. I was going to prison for a long time. At the age of 48, that was really scary because everything I had worked for my whole life had amounted to absolutely nothing at this point. I have an ex-wife who that relationship was messed up because of my drug use and my criminal activity and just my selfishness and inability to, it's hard to explain my just inability to do anything on a normal level outside of what I wanted to do on a selfish level. And I have a daughter who is now 12, Talia. She doesn't even know me because my activities were so bad that they had to literally take my daughter away because who knows that I didn't want to get her wrapped up in anything I was doing. My father had passed away at this point. He'd always try to be on my side, always. He'd come visit me and when I was in prison, get the phone calls, help try to clean up the mess. He did the best he could. And that to no avail, that didn't work. He ended up passing away, probably wondering if I was going to make it or not. And then I had a heart attack due to my drug addiction. That was at the age of 40. I had a stent put in me. And then during the procedure, somehow, because of the medications and an ulcer and stuff like that, I ended up losing 8 pints of blood after that. And then had a total GI, a blood replacement. Had grand mal seizures, passed out almost. I was pretty much clinically dead. They said I was blue and purple when the ambulance came and picked me up. Still didn't quit drugs. Still didn't stop. And so now I'm facing these charges and it's not looking good. And while in Hennepin County, at this point, I was just kind of wondering, man, how did it get to this point? I'm just continuously asking to get your head beat in. And I just told myself something's got to change. Something's got to move. If it doesn't, my life's pretty much over with at this point. And it's not looking good from as far as Hennepin County or the state of Minnesota side. They were just sick and tired of dealing with my wreckage and were looking to capitalize on putting me away. And I literally had no choice. I had no friends were answering the phone. Family had quit talking to me maybe 20 years ago. And I didn't know where to go at this point. So the best I can sum it up, I went to private Catholic school when I was younger, so I knew that there was a God. but I just really didn't have much faith in God at the time. Just never really practiced it. Never really knew doing religion classes like an hour a day from the time I was from second grade all the way through high school. I went to Titino Grace High School also. You would think that I somehow picked up something, and I did, but I just never really paid attention to it because at a young age I was just so busy doing what I was doing. But this time I didn't know where to go. I had tried every route possible, and so I hit my knees. I was begging God to just show me a way, help me out, give me some kind of answer. I didn't know. I didn't know what to do. I through the wreckage and praying and just reading the Bible and not really knowing what I was doing, but just being consistent in it. I started getting different sense. I started the anxiety and the pressure was being relieved through the prayer, and the Bible was giving me some kind of guidance of hope. And I just would do it, just continue to do it, and keep doing it. And then I would learn something, and that would cause me to act a little bit differently in Hennepin County. And I think when I went to the court process, because the court process was like 10 months of me going in and out of court, and my lawyer just trying to, when we talked, I think she started sensing a little hope out of me, and the judge started sensing a little hope. And instead of me sitting there with my arms crossed, I was sitting there happy. And then two, my brother, who I hadn't talked to for years, none of the family talked to me for years, just wrote me off. I was good as dead. And when you think about your family, like for them to do that to me, I must have been pretty bad. And so I was just been out here by myself for years, literally in the streets, running around all over the country. I got caught with a first degree. I was dealing drugs across state lines. It was really bad. I got caught with 1.5 pounds of methamphetamines and a second gun charge. I'd been shot 4 times. It's just, my family just thought I was dead. And when I made that call going into Hennepin County, I don't know if it was desperation in my voice, but my brother heard me and just said, look, and he showed up to every court date. And that was the start. That was that with my family, and now me just praying all the time. Like I felt a little hope. Like if even no matter what was going to happen, I felt like I could deal with it. And I think I was, instead of sitting there with my arms folded, I was in the courtroom. I was at ease for the first time. And I've been in a lot of court situations. And just recently, I was asked, what do you think? I have no clue why the judge did what they did. I have no clue. But they cut me a break, and they put me in a program. It's called drug court, and they put a hefty probation over my head, and that, I think that was the break that I needed. But furthermore, I was praying every day before these courts, literally praying for 2-3 hours leading up until the court dates. And this will just forever just be in my mind. We were on an evidentiary hearing, and I was just waiting we were trying to get the cop on the stand because we were trying to do whatever we could to fight this because my life was at stake. I was just like a statistic at that point. My lawyer, for some reason, started backing me up. My brother was coming to court all the time. The judge was softening up, but I was praying, and I said to myself, maybe I should just read a couple verses in the Bible like, if you're going to pray. I was tired of doing these toilet bowl prayers, like when someone's drunk and they're just like, God help me, and they're throwing up in the toilet. So I said, my dad always told me, if you're going to do something, do it to the best of your ability. And so I'm going to open up this Bible. And I opened up to the New Testament. It was Matthew. And it was, I'm just going to my understanding, it was when Jesus got together with St. John the Baptist. And St. John the Baptist was like, oh my gosh, it's Jesus Christ. He's here. This is going down. And Jesus Christ, yeah, you're going to baptize me. And St. John the Baptist was like, what are you talking about? You're God. You're going to baptize me. And he goes, no, this is how we're going to do it because this is the way God wants it done. And right there, that told me that I needed to humble myself and I needed to submit to the Lord, that no matter what was going to happen, it was the will of God and that I could handle it. And he wasn't going to put too much on me that I couldn't handle. And I had got myself in this mess, and it was his way. He was going to do what as he pleased, and I was just to submit to the Lord. And with that submission, I would regain composure. And as soon as I got done reading that verse, the buzzer rang and said, Lee, your lawyer's here. And that was the day that I was notified that I was going to drug court. Now, call it what you will. Me being new in this life, this was the second part that was really going to get. So I was going to humble myself. I was going to submit to the Lord. But somehow I figured out that through prayer and the Bible and being consistent with the Lord, that I would learn to hear from him, and that if I was going to submit to him, I had to know what he wanted me to do. And I could only do that by conversation with him through prayer and reading and being observant and aware about him on a daily basis. And the only way that was going to happen was through practice. And so I believe that was the Lord telling me he had me by, look, I'm gonna get you into drug court, and you gotta do this. But I'm gonna get you there, but you gotta do this. He's gonna present a door for me to go through. He's not gonna do it for me. And so with that understanding, I was kind of all in at that point. And there had been a couple instances where we thought maybe I could have took it to trial and won it, but the point was that I needed to get better for me and my daughter. I believed reading in the Bible that the Father, I should replicate what the Father does for me, I should do for my family. And that's the kind of love that I should be spreading in the world. And if I can't spread it with my daughter, then I'm not living in God's will, and I'm not submitting to the Lord.
You were made for more clarity, more confidence, more impact. At Maupin Coaching, I help high school and college athletes master the mental game and guide men into purpose-driven leadership. Grab the sports book, rock the merch coming soon, and step into more at maupincoaching.com.
And it was always in the background. I was always telling them, I was hearing about this teen challenge. Growing up as a kid from North Minneapolis, we always knew teen challenge was like a get out of jail free card, and that don't waste it on small trials, waste it on the big one. And this was the big one. And I knew that if I couldn't, I needed to get better, and I needed to get all in with this. And so it was, to my understanding, that they were faith-based, and it was a long-term commitment, and it was a challenge. It was literally a challenge, like for me to actually graduate, think about even contemplating graduating this program, that it was a challenge, and I would need to be all in with this. And then if I was going to be all in with this, then this is going to be a lifestyle change. When I went to drug court, where I went to court, they offered me drug court. I took it. And then with my understanding and my prayers and reading in the Bible, I believe that this was what God wanted me to do. He wanted me to change, and he wanted me to go all in with him and submit. And every time I would think of something or come up with these ideas, something in my head, it would just turn me down the wrong path. It's just human nature. It's just, we live in sin. It's just what we are as people. And I needed God to lead the way. And I was very persistent on that. So Teen Challenge came, it was an opportunity to see if I had what it took to change my life and give, I guess out of all the years I disrespected life and the Lord, was my chance to not that he looked for it, not that he was asking for it, but it was my chance to give him the respect that he deserved for the grace and honor that he shows to somebody that's not willing or not even deserving of any of it. And he still showed me, and he was like my dad, like he was there and when I needed him. And so I just disrespected my father for so long. I was like, I'm not going to do this to God. I entered Teen Challenge, graduated the long-term program with honors. I ended up doing this thing called Know the Truth, which is going back and talking to the community in high school and eighth grade about my drug use. And I did more of those than anyone on our floor. I was like the captain of it for a while. I was going on twice a week sometimes. I was going out to these high schools. Classes, I never missed my classes. I was constant. I was journaling. I was praying. I was doing devotionals. I was reading my Bible. I was getting better and better. And my brother could tell I was making life-changing decisions through the Lord. And I'm almost 2 years sober now, and I'm at TCLI now, which is the Leadership Institute. It's a ministry school. Is exactly what it is. I'm in the Bible, man. I'm probably 4 or 5 hours a day. It's funny when I go to a new church and they don't know me, they're like, try to lead the way, and they don't really realize like how much I'm in this Bible. But I'm so blessed to be in these experiences and stuff like that. And furthermore, all this stuff that's happening, none of it really matters. And at the end of the day, what did matter was my brother's wife. Me and him haven't been good for years, and we finally caught up. He introduced me to his son. I have a nephew that I didn't know. And because he never really felt safe around me, around his kid. That's how bad I was. And so I remember when I got out of jail right before I went to Teen Challenge, he introduced me to his son, and his wife had a foot in that. She was like, "That's your brother, go get him, and we're gonna help him out." And she ends up catching cancer when I was in long-term pancreatic cancer, and she just recently passed away. And during the funeral, I did a reading, and I was there for my brother. Still am there for my brother during the toughest situation in his life. And to me, that's out of all this stuff, that's my God moment. That's the grace of God, that he brings you back to your family. And I've changed so much that for once, out of all the times that he was there for me, I got to be there for him. And that's my God moment. Forget all this other stuff that's been going on. Almost graduating drug court. I'm in this Restorative Justice Act. I'm going back to school January for my LADC. Hopefully I can pick up an internship here at Teen Challenge and start helping out the addicts. None of that is what God intended this to be. And God intended this to be like I could stand up and be there for my family the way I should have been, the way that the natural cause and effect of a family is supposed to be. The older brother is supposed to be the role model. And I got to take that throne again because of the Lord. And I know he's going to bring my daughter back into my life. Like all the promises that were made to me, God just keeps putting these doors open, and I keep walking through them. And it's an unbelievable walk with the Lord. It's just unbelievable. All the stuff that I've been through, you could probably write a book about that stuff, but you couldn't write a book about the way that God has just literally turned this around in such a short time. And I'm dedicating my life to him at this point. I'm in ministry school. This is the last place I thought I'd be. And I keep going, and it's just the Lord gives me energy. The Lord gives me hope. I live with the fruits. Yeah, it's just unbelievable.
So, Lee, powerful story that you kind of share with the listeners. They're going to really enjoy listening to your story. Those that have maybe known someone who went through recovery. I know I had a sister that was a drug addict for 20 plus years. I never went through it, but I can relate to it. And a lot of the stories she shared with me. And I guess one question some of the listeners might be wondering is, how did you make it into Adult and Teen Challenge? Was it like in the court system? Did they recommend it? did your lawyer, did you, to make your way to Adult and Teen Challenge?
So basically, the parameters of drug court were that they were going to release me from Hennepin County after doing 10 months, and that I could go to any facility for treatment for 30 days, 45 days, and then I'd be released. And then there was rules that I had to follow, like going to court every other week, doing random drug tests, all this, that, and the third. I was very staunch on my decision to go to Teen Challenge. I'd enrolled, quote unquote, enrolled. Previous to that was accepted, but didn't get back to them. And the court process took so long that I was still in the database, but I had to re-enroll to get back in here. So I made that choice, and just out of sobriety. I've been sober before this. I was heavily, and my thing is, AA for me, Bill and Bob did that directly out of the Bible. That the way that the 12 steps are, is you find out you're drunk, you realize you can't do anything because you're drunk, and that you're such a drunk that you have to go to God to help you with your decision or to give you some hope. And then you repent, and then you work that out, and then by the end of it, you have to, in order to keep it, you have to give it back. And if you look at Christianity as a whole, you basically get yourself into trouble. You say, God, help me, please. And then you submit to that, and then you feel the Holy Spirit. And once that presence comes in you, it's an undeniable fact that the Lord exists in your life. And then you get baptized. And then at the end of it, you give that back. You give that love and grace back. I could stay sober, but I just couldn't get that step 3 down. And I would always, my will would always, I always thought I knew the answer, and I would ruin it. And for me, the whole sobriety thing was, you need some kind of help with that in the physical, but you also need a huge amount of spiritual aspect in your life in order to remain sober. And the only thing that was going to provide that at this stage was Teen Challenge. That it was, and I've done it I've been to every treatment facility. I've done every meeting in the state. I would go for roundups, all this stuff. When I combined the two, and I paid attention to the 12-step rules to get me sober enough to see God. And then once I saw God, I followed God. And then the way those two combined together, it's the only thing that I know of to this date that was working enough for me to get sober. And right now I'm living on that aspect. Step 3, and then my faith walk. That's Teen Challenge is what provided that. And so it was eminent for me in the court process. I basically begged them, let me go to Teen Challenge. They said no problem because it was a year. They could keep an eye on me for a year. And 2, I'm never good on probation. I'm like a wild dog. You open up the doors and I just go running. And I don't come back home. So it was like I said, it was all timing. It was all God's timing. And everything happened for the right reason. I was in a corner, backed up enough, and the courts they put 120 months over my head. And it was all timing. It was all timing, and it was God's timing. And so when it was simple, I kept asking them, can I go to Teen Challenge? They were like, absolutely. And that's how it got in.
That's the success of Adult and Teen Challenge, because they put Jesus at the center.
Amen.
And I know a lot of those programs don't put Jesus at the center, and why their success rate is so much higher. I know some people have to go back a few different times, or maybe they don't make it through Adult and Teen Challenge, but their success rate is like beyond any of these other programs. And that's maybe one area that's not talked about as much as it should. Is I know the Adult and Teen Challenge talk about this, but about how Jesus is the center of all. And you just kind of shared that in regards to all the programs you've been through, but just the impact that Adult and Teen Challenge has. And I know my sister would always say that going to an AA program is like giving back to others. You get outside yourself and you give back to others. It's like way to work you through this, that she says, hey, this is something I have to work through my entire life. But instead of feeling sorry for myself or looking at myself and look at others and really seek out others and help others. And I'm sure you experience this too. My sister would always say, druggies, no druggies, addicts, no addicts. And they can recognize it. My sister could recognize them within seconds. I was just like amazed. She'd walk up to someone, hey, you're going through something, aren't you? You're really struggling today, aren't you? It's amazing. And they would just open up to her about, yeah, I think I'm going into relapse, or I'm really having a struggle. I need to find an AA program. And I'm sure you can relate to that too, and many of you can, that you can recognize those that are going through struggles.
More or less, like you can recognize those that are going through struggles, but if you're not trying to captivate that spiritual side of yourself, then you can also miss a lot of it. And the signs that tell you, and in God's hand on situations, it's like you said, with the AA, it's helping out others. With being a Christian and walking with God is changing yourself. So you can only try to change the drugs so many times. You have to change yourself. And the only thing that I've known to this day to get you to that point is you have to learn God. And I know at Teen Challenge, like, that's their number one goal and that's their number one aspect. Like the sobriety situation, basically, I've been here for almost 2 years now, Hennepin County for 10 months. So it's distanced me from the drugs the last couple of years, but at the same time, what's gotten me better was my ability to grow with God and give back to the community and feel this importance in me that I can do better and that to even want to do better because of the Lord. And then it helps with my sobriety. So it's such a chain reaction situation. And I've been to 20 billion treatments outside of Teen Challenge. And I mean, I've never gotten this amount of peace in my own mind as I do now.
Well, Lee, with wrapping this up in about 2 minutes or less, can you give us some final thoughts that you want to leave with others that are maybe going through recovery or maybe considering that they need to get some help?
Like most of the time when you need to get help as an addict, it's when it's bad. But it's that fear to change, and that fear of leaving the drugs and just everything about it. And that fear is real. But I would just say this: if you replace what I have had now, going through that fear was worth it, and going through just being a little uncomfortable, and it was worth it. And having to learn is really hard, but you can never replace what I got now. And I would just pray that you find the strength to want to change, and then check out your options and go for it. So that's all. That's the best I can say.
Amen, brother. Hey, I want to thank you, Lee, for your willingness to share your story. And I want to thank you for being a part of this special monthly episode on Recovery Month in September. And also, I want to thank Adult and Teen Challenge, and find us on Men Pursuing More podcast. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks for listening to Men Pursuing More podcast. Don't forget to follow us at moffencoaching.com.